How are we doing, everybody? I am Jeff Hoke here with, as always, Chris Henrique and Kevin Perdios, and we are the Shorthanded Takes Boston Bruins podcast. This is episode 20. We have made it to the 20s now, guys. We've been on for this long. I don't know how I feel about that, but we are brought to you by Shocked Energy and Exogun. I lost my Shocked Energy. Oh, there it is. Hang on. I got it right here. Give me a second. Yeah, there it is. Ever feel unable to focus like me just then? Tired and just low on energy? Well, we understand that feeling. We understand it so well that Shorthanded Takes a Boston Bruins podcast is brought to you by Couch Guys Sports Network and sponsored by our friends over at Shocked Energy. Head on over to shockedenergy.com and use the promo code CGSN and use that today for 10% off your next order. That's CGSN for 10% off your next order. Okay, so Bruins capped off the West Coast. Did pretty well. 5 out of 6, I believe. Capped it off with a win in Columbus. I know that's not out west, but that's a road trip. And then they came home yesterday and lost in overtime to the Kings, thanks to a goal in the final 30 seconds of regulation. Well, back. Excuse me. Before we get to that game, I want to back it up to the Columbus game. I'm going to toss to Chris on this one because Kevin was at that LA Kings game, so we're going to get his insight on that one. Chris, that Columbus game, we saw it was the return of Nick Foligno. And, you know, he almost cost the Bruins game twice, almost helped the Columbus Blue Jackets. Other than that, though, Swayman started that game. And Swayman, of course, got the win. Swayman is, I believe, 8-1-1 in his past month. What has been the most surprising part outside of Swayman on this finishing up this West Coast trip?
They seem like they're getting somewhat healthy. They haven't really been banged up. They haven't really been banged up, so it seems like they're getting healthy. But I mean, ultimately, I truly think it's just the play of Swayman, of the goaltending. You know, I think what he's doing is he's providing a massive boost to this team overall offensively, and then same thing on the defensive side. Plus, Craig Smith is like the hottest player right now in the NHL. The dude has 5 goals in the last week and a half.
When he gets hot, he gets hot. When he gets cold, he gets cold.
Yeah, they come in bunches. It's kind of, he's kind of reminds me a little bit of like the way DeBrusk plays a little bit. Like when DeBrusk, when he scores, they happen in bunches. The same thing with Craig Smith. So you're getting scoring from and consistent scoring from different players like a Craig Smith. Defensively, they haven't been too bad. You know, we'll talk more about the defense later on. Well, I will in my piece that I have, but yeah, I just think that, Swayman has definitely kind of injected this swagger in this team. I feel they play much differently in front of him than they do in front of Ullmark, and I think you kind of seen that last night. So, Swayman kind of setting that tone and then just getting that secondary scoring, and they seem like they're getting healthier.
Okay. So they're getting healthier, which is good. Euro Vakanainen is expected to play tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? They play tomorrow? No, Thursday. No, do they play tomorrow? Now I'm lost.
Yep, they play Thursday against the Blackhawks.
They play Thursday. So Euro Vakanainen is expected back Thursday, so that's a plus. That'll help shore that up a little bit. So let's move ahead. We go from one goalie that has been red hot to another goalie that has been streaky, and that is Kevin's favorite goalie. We're going to you got to go to that game. You got paid to go to that game. You got good seats to go to that game. It seemed like it was a good game offensively. Obviously, they only put up 2 goals. But the defense, and I'll let Chris explain this a little bit later on, but the defense yesterday and kind of let up towards the end. And you got to put some blame on Linus Ullmark here, but I mean, he had a fantastic game up until that point. But once again, he gets hung out to dry. And that 3 overtime, 1-on-1, you kind of knew what was coming on that one. So what was your takeaway from that LA Kings game there, Kevin?
Yeah, so I obviously I was there for work and we had to leave about 5 minutes left in the third period. So my walk back to the bus, I realized I got the updates. Oh, they tied it, and oh, they lost in overtime. So that was a little bit of a damper on overall pretty good game. Allmark, yeah, no, I think I woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day and was just a little feisty. And he's a good backup goalie. He's playing well. But that's the key. Like he if you're relying on him to be your number one, you're in trouble, right? Like he can't be your number one guy, and we know that. Um, Overall, he played pretty well. A couple times, I think he got a little lucky. He was caught out of position, and the puck didn't go in the back of the net for the Kings. I think the defense did a good job of kind of covering up those aspects. There was a few, I think one in the second period. Allmark was almost behind the net, and they were four Bruins players right in front of the net and kind of keeping the puck away from really going in. But again, can't be caught out of net, but credit to the defense. I think the thing that kind of stood out to me though, and I don't know if this is going to be more of a shot at the Kings power play or credit to the Bruins penalty kill. They had a ton of pressure when the Bruins were on the penalty kill. They had a ton of pressure in the offensive zone. They're drumming up some scoring chances and just didn't get any real puck luck to score. But it was really good to see that outside of the normal. We have to, hey, oh, the offense was great or whatever. No, it was, that's a bright spot that you have to be able to do as a good team. And when opportunities arise, you have to be able to put some pressure on them, even if you are shorthanded. So again, I don't know if that's a shot at the Kings power play or more or less credit to the Bruins, but we're a Boston Bruins podcast, so I'd say credit to the Bruins on that one. A point's a point. Even you hate to lose that. I know I missed the final 30 seconds, obviously, when they scored.
I can't believe you missed the final 30. It's so unfortunate.
Dude, well, I know. When you have so how it happened was I was there for work, and we did a field trip. Like we were on a hockey league, so we took a bunch of the kids that played in the hockey league to the game. We got like 15 tickets. We all went. So me and 13 kids, me and one other staff member and 13 kids were all there. Keep in mind, these kids are like 7 to like 10. So we had our hands full there. And we were told we got to get back by 10 p.m. So
Okay,
I was like, I'm going to stretch this as much as possible. And it just happened to be 5 minutes left in the third. I'm like, all right, I think this is a safe time to leave. Boy, was I wrong. So I mean, yeah, you can't allow those types of losses. I don't care what the hell happened. I don't care, if that just can't happen. And that's I'll put that on Allmark. I'll put that on defense. I'll put that on Cassidy. I'll put that on everyone as a whole. That can't happen. Bottom line. So that's a huge black eye for you.
Yep.
And if you allow a team to score in the final 30 seconds, you deserve to lose the game. And not only do you deserve to lose the game, I would bet good money that the team that scores within the final minute of a game to tie it, more often than not, goes on to win in overtime. So,
it's funny because I was listening to the Nesson broadcast of that in the final 30 seconds. Of course, Jack said there was no chance that they would score a goal here. And lo and behold, about 10, 15 seconds later, they scored a goal. So, I mean, it's the curse of Jack Edwards once again, but that's besides the point. So staying on the topic of the defense here, Chris has some stuff to say about this. So I'm gonna go to Chris. Defense has been struggling lately, and we trade deadline's coming up here in a couple weeks. Maybe it is a bigger issue than we thought it was going to be. Maybe it's going to be that front and center thing that they're going to need to look at. But right now they are going through that rough patch again, and it's at a bad time. I'm thinking. Is that was that you trying to?
No, that wasn't me. Was that you?
No.
All right, let's try that again. What did you say leading up to that? Because something came over.
No, I was just tossing it to you now that talking about the defense here and the struggles of the defense and the trade deadline coming up in 2 weeks with
So
defensive woes.
they 100, and we've been first off, we have been saying this for how many episodes? We're 20 episodes in, so probably for 15 episodes, we have said that they need to improve the blue line, improve the blue line, improve the blue line, improve the blue line. So I think they need to do two things. One, I think you need to get someone that you could ideally put on your second pair, but you can elevate to the first pair every once in a while. And you need to bring back Zdeno Chara. And I've been on the fence back and forth on the whole Zdeno Chara piece for a little bit. And after watching some of the games, the last handful of ones they played, they need Mike Riley's not doing it for me, so to speak. And I think if you can bring back Chara, he only has to come back. He's depth, right? He would pair beautifully on the third line. He doesn't have to play a ton of minutes. He is going to be super cheap from a cap perspective. And on top of that, I'd have to imagine that if you're giving up anything more than a 5th round pick, you know what I mean? Like, I think you can part with a 5th round pick to the Islanders for Chara. On top of it, you're going to bring back someone who played 14 years in Boston. He was obviously the captain, Norris Trophy winner in 2009. He reached and exceeded 50 points 3 times when he was here. Big reason why they won the cup. Now, that's not the Zdeno Chara you're getting, but you're getting someone that can come in and play some meaningful minutes. Maybe we'll call it 10, 11 minutes, and you can start to get and lower the other minutes of guys like a Mike Riley, who has to be a little more physical than what I think he typically is. And I just think you're just getting someone who could be a little more of like, I want to say like an enforcer, but someone who has a little bit of grit and someone who's not going to take any shit, essentially, that I think the Bruins are lacking on that line. And plus, you're getting a leader. He's a proven leader. Former captain, for all his entire tenure. So I think that it will fit nicely in the locker room, and then again on the ice. The other piece, we kind of like looking at a lot of different defensemen, like who else they could bring in. I still, like I said, they need that like second pairing is like the dude from the Canadians, like Ben Chariot. It's like he's a left shot. Is that the guy you bring in, and is that going to cost a ton? You know what I mean? And it depends what that cost is going to look like. He's only 30 years old. Is he someone you can bring in, again, put on that second line and then interchange him on the first when need be? Who's the guy a couple of weeks back we did the show, the one from Dallas? His name is escaping me.
John Klingberg.
He's another guy too. And we talked about him a little bit back, and I had him in my notes, but I spaced out his name really quick. Again, another guy like that. I think the Bruins, if they're going to really improve, they're going to have to spend something to get something. So they need to improve that defense. I think they need 2 guys back there.
What say you, Kevin, on the defensive end front? Are we looking at something like a Jacob Chikrin trade? Or, I mean, you're going to have to give up a lot for him, but I mean, like a John Klingberg, or like, Chris said, a Zdeno Chara-esque person that, is an enforcer on that line. Or like I said, are you looking for someone to pair up with Charlie McAvoy?
Yeah, I mean, all 3 of those guys, you're going completely different avenues, right? So the Chara one, if only someone on this show brought that up weeks and weeks ago, right?
Definitely. I wonder who would have brought that
up.
And
I naysayed it, and I'm sorry.
Yep. So, hey, all of a sudden, that guy needs to be back here. I think that's a no-brainer move, right? We talked about it in our group chat, the asking price for Phil Kessel, right? If that's true, if it's really that low, you have to go and do that. If Chara is a fifth round draft pick, yeah, you go and get that. That's 100% a deal you make. just because of the intangibles that he brings. Veteran leadership that a guy, he's going to be on the ice if he's healthy. Even when he's not healthy, he's going to be on the ice. And he's a fan favorite here. The fans would love bringing him back. It's a good veteran leadership in the locker room to have on that second, third pairing, probably third. Please don't put him on the second. But
if you put him on the second, that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. But it's Don Sweeney. We'll leave all options open at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see them trying to hit like a home run and getting
a Chikrin or something like that.
Yeah, that's going to be a high draft pick. That's going to be a lot of collateral.
That's going to be like a Swayman-esque, something you don't want to give up at that point.
Yeah, and we'd be stupid to do that. We would be stupid.
Yeah.
Well, it's Don Sweeney though. I'm not going to, like I said, I mean,
I don't know if you go like, you're not going to do Swayman. Swayman's got to be now in that, like we talked about, I think last episode, the top 5 guys that you can't trade. He's got to be there. Him, McAvoy, Bergeron, Pasta. Like your top 5 or 6 guys, like, all right, these 6 guys are untouchable. Everyone else, kick rocks if you think you're untouchable type of thing. It's going to be a lot. I guess if that is the avenue they want to go, obviously when you bring in a guy like that, yeah, I would love to see it, but what's going out the door? Is it a DeBrusque with 3 first-round picks? I don't know. You know what I mean? And if it's the only way I would do that is it's something like that. Hey, we'll give you Jake DeBrusque and we'll give you 3 first-round draft picks because I have 0 faith in Sweeney. So fine, deal. Like you've shown you can't draft for shit, so I'm good. That's basically just given, as far as I'm concerned, that's a straight up trade between Jake DeBrusque and whatever. So yeah, I think they go more of that mid-round guy where you're paying low and hoping he produces. So I unfortunately, I don't expect many big moves to be made, but it's Don Sweeney. You never fucking know, man.
That is for sure. You just, that man is just something else. Actually, cool story about Phil Kessel. I know we're all over the place, but that's the whole point of the show. Arizona Coyotes are currently just destroying the Detroit Red Wings right now, 7-2. Nick Schmaltz is just on fire right now with like 3 assists and 2 goals. He had 7 points the other night. Just insane stuff. So Phil Kessel, they're playing a man down right now because Phil Kessel kept his consecutive game streak going today, but it was on the first shift and then he left because he was going to see the birth of his first child. And Arizona bought him a charter flight so he could fly back to Arizona and see the birth of his child. Just so he could keep his they wanted to keep his consecutive game streak going.
How many games in a row has he played?
It was I don't even know at this point. It's a lot. Let's see. But yeah, no, he got to go see the birth of his first child. And while also keeping his streak alive.
They can pay for a charter flight, but can't pay rent for their own friggin' arena.
No, so he has the second longest active streak with 941 games in a row. 942.
Wow, now. I didn't know that. That actually is kind of cool, but at the same time, like that is a funny story. Damn. All right.
Yeah, no, it's
I have a quick.
No, I'm sorry, it's 956 now. It was 9.
It's gonna be broken up when he gets straight to Boston.
Well, why would he can still play? Oh, well, yeah, I guess you'd have to give him a chance to. I don't know if they count that or not. I don't know how that would work. Anyway, so trade deadline is coming. Oh, you got something? You got something over there?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
I'm taking first off the show to the kitchen here real quick.
Okay, that's fine. We're already all over the place. You can take us to the kitchen. That's fine.
Yeah.
He's going to the. Oh, Jesus.
You're gonna get lighting and stuff. So here's the thing, right? You guys were talking about before, like, what if Sweeney traded first round picks? He's in the final year of his contract. I wonder if the Jacobs family is going to let him trade away some of that
that capital. That maybe he doesn't have as much flexibility as that a lot of people think that he may have. That maybe he doesn't have a lot of flexibility to go and make that really big splash where, yeah, people could say, well, he's trying to save his job. But what if they're saying, well, no, you're going to use the following here, but you can't touch this. And we're going to see what happens for the rest of the season to determine whether we're going to bring you back.
Yeah. I mean, it's a solid point on that end. I mean, this trade deadline is so weird for the Bruins this year. And we plan on having a trade deadline special. We're going to be that trade deadline day. We were going to be doing a podcast instead of the Tuesday. We're going to be doing one the day of the trade deadline. Anyway, point being, this is such a weird trade deadline for the Bruins this year because, you know, you're so divided on if you should buy, if you should stay put, or if you should sell. And I'm not saying you should sell because you're on a win streak right now, or you're just coming off an 8-game win streak. Should have been 9, but you're also looking like, you know, how far can this team really go into the Stanley Cup playoffs? Because if they don't bolster that defense, they're not going to make it far. Because when you have to play, when you're trying to avoid a team like Florida, and if you don't avoid a team like Florida, you're going to have to go up against a line like the Barkov, Huberdeau, and Ekblad. Just they have a lot of good players. If your defense can't hold up with, Linus or Swayman in net, then, it's not good. It's going to be a first round exit real quick. But you also got to look at it like, if you stay put, you're basically just calling it a season at that point.
I think it'd be foolish to stay put, though. I mean, they're playing well enough right now to go out and get the pieces. Swayman's playing good enough that if he stays hot, I mean, anytime you have a hot goaltender and you can get them into the postseason, you got to go out and get some pieces. You have to go and address. They need to address this blue line. If they don't, it's going to be an early exit. And
yeah, I think they almost have to look at this as you have no choice but to add. You have no choice because you're in this predicament because Sweeney didn't do his job drafting, right? Like, well, however that came across, I know it's not, we blame Sweeney, but at the end of the day, it's, you blame Ben Sherrington for the 2012 collapse, or, you know what I mean? You blame the guy in charge for the disaster. And you have no choice but to go get him and to go make moves to make a run, because at the end of the day, Bergeron isn't going to be here forever. Rask is already gone, obviously. So your window is really, really closing fast. And if you say you stay put, and obviously, like you said, that's pretty much you're giving in. Yep, our season's done. Okay, you got to imagine Sweeney's out. All right. The only shot Sweeney has of keeping his job is to win a Stanley Cup or make another deep playoff run where you're whatever, he
almost Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I almost think he has to get to the Stanley Cup.
I do too, but I mean, when you say deep run, I think Eastern Conference Finals.
So I mean, if you're gonna fire Sweeney, like, I guess let's play this out. I know I'm rambling on, but let's play it out. All right, we stay the same, right? We stay pat. Sweeney's fired. You don't really add, or you kind of sell. You become a seller. Great, Sweeney's gone. The only element of possibly Sweeney staying here is to make a deep playoff run. So this is almost a no-brainer that you have to go and get something. You have to look to make this team better, because you're not going to trust Sweeney to draft. Like, you're not going to let this guy rebuild your team. You're going to go get someone else. So if you're going to go get someone else to rebuild your team, you might as well just allow him or the next guy to do it, to start from scratch. So your only option is to add.
So that's where this comes in. We were discussing this on my radio show the other day with Dan Ryan of Stanley Cup of Chowder. It's a question that should be asked about when it comes to the trade deadline, with how bad Don Sweeney is at drafting, why wouldn't you want to go after a big name player and give up those first round picks? And you know what you're getting compared to, you're so bad at drafting. You just, what's the point of having a first round pick? Just use those first round picks to go after a player that you know how good they're going to be. I mean, like a Jacob Chikrin, you still has 2 or 3 years left on his deal. Why not throw a couple first round picks in there to entice Arizona a little bit more, knowing that, you're shit at, drafting anyway.
Hey,
You should almost just do
Rams approach right now. Look at the Rams have done in the NFL. I mean,
Exactly.
The Broncos did it today with getting Russell Wilson through 2 first, seconds, and a ton of players. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, all right, so if you have the opportunity to go to Arizona and be like, hey, we'll give you 3 first round picks and Jake DeBrusk, and in return, you give us, well, hold on, you give us Chitrin or whatever the hell the dude's name is. I can never say it correctly.
Oh yeah, Chitrin. You were right, Chitrin.
So give us Chitrin and Phil Kessel. You're like, okay, great deal. Let's do it. Because I think that one, I don't necessarily agree that you should trade Jake DeBrusk just because he wants to get out. We've talked about this 100 times, but that's like a good deal for almost both sides. You're Arizona needs to rebuild. They're getting first round picks. DeBrusk is already kind of trying to see what other extensions are out there. Like, he's open to signing an extension with someone else. So yeah, go do something like that. And I think that's a trade that you got to do, and you got to at least have that conversation. And then you go and flip a 5th round draft pick for Zdeno Chara. Now all of a sudden our defense is a lot better, right? Like, you make 2 moves and our third line's a lot better. We've sure up 2 solid defensemen. One to fill in on the second line, one to provide depth. Now all of a sudden it's like, all right, where are the holes? You know what I mean?
Now, another name that was brought up, and this isn't one you give up first round picks for, but another name that was brought up was Claude Giroux. A veteran guy that spent his whole career in Philadelphia. Obviously, Philadelphia is not going anywhere this year, and he has been the hot topic on the market. The Bruins have, according to Elliot Friedman, the Bruins have been linked to him. They have kicked the tires on him. So, I mean, whether or not that comes to fruition or anything, that is another piece of, the offense that could upgrade it. You could first, second line, however you wanted to do it. But I mean, that's just enough. There's a lot of different avenues you can go. And I don't think they're going to get like super, like, go all in this year and get like, go left and right on trades, but they'll make a couple of good trades. They're going to do their best to shore up this defense. Cause like Kevin said, Don Sweeney knows his ass is on fire right now. And you gotta do something at this point. And you can't just sit there with the narrative of, okay, we're on an 8-game win streak right now. We just lost our 8-game win streak. We're really hot right now. Why change it? Why should we trade for anybody at this point? Keep it the same. That's not what we want to do. You need to upgrade at those pieces, like the blue line or that second line or whatever you want to do. So, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues you can go. We'll talk more about it on the 21st when, everything starts to come down, and we'll have that podcast out on Tuesday. Yeah, we'll have that podcast out on Tuesday, the 22nd instead of Wednesday, the 23rd, because we'll be doing, and we might go live on Spaces too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
If we're recording do you know what time the deadline goes to?
I think it's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think it's like at 3 or 4 p.m.
Us record, and we have we play music in the background when there's a trade, like old school, like ESPN.
Oh, dude, I can cue that shit right up. Don't you worry.
We do that at my fantasy football and baseball drafts.
We do that too. I just play the draft music in the background.
So this is like, I know we'll get into the upcoming schedules and everything in a little bit. This is, I'm kind of looking at it now. This might be like a trap schedule. Like this
100%.
This got brought up. This got brought up during the Celtics. And I think on 98.5, they said, don't fall for the trap. Your next 6 games leading up to this are like 6 what should be wins, right? Like you look at it and you're like, wow, you should add 12 points, right? Like 12 points easily right here. But that brings us literally up to Monday, March 21st, trade deadline.
Yep,
So don't fall for that, like, oh, we're good. Like our team's fine.
Yeah.
Because immediately right after that, you fall into Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
we're gonna trick you into falling into a trap. And I think they need to look at it right now and be like, no matter what happens over the next 2 weeks, we have to go and do something. I don't care if we blow out every single team in the next 2 weeks, 10-0. You need to go and add.
No, 100%. And this is, so I'll kind of compare it here for a second. And, this is a great talk. And I think we'll wrap it up in another minute or two. But you think of it like this. You think of it like what the Red Sox did. I mean, they did a couple moves at the trade deadline. They're really only a pitcher or two good pitchers away from, really getting past the Astros in that ALCS, right? So you look at it, and that's kind of, you don't want to, you want to move the pieces that you want and get the pieces you need, but you need to make that next step when it comes to the trade. You can't just go for a mid-level guy. And you don't have to go for the high tier guy either, but you need to get that guy that is going to actually help your team. Not like I don't even know. I can't
You
even
want
think
to do like a again, I had it and I just lost
I
it.
had it too.
You don't want to get like another 4th line guy.
Exactly.
Oh, you don't want to provide like depth. You don't need a depth move.
No, you need a first, second line guy that
yes,
you
need
can
a difference maker.
Play that line well, like a Claude Giroux. He can play well.
40 points. He's got 17 goals this season, 23 assists in 52 games.
Exactly.
Like, just.
I'm not saying he's the guy you have to get.
Yeah, but that's the kind of player though that you need to. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like that, go get him. Like, go get him. You know what I mean? Like,
so this is what's going to be weird. Like, I agree. Like, if Claude Giroux came here, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, baby. Like, we're going to roll because our top 6 forwards should be nasty, right? Like, there should never be another conversation of secondary scoring. You shut down our first line, great. You get answered with Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak, or you get answered with Pasta and Hall. That should solidify right there, right? Because I would imagine if Giroux gets here, he's going to the first line. You could easily change it, right? You could easily move it around. He's on the second. Either way, that secondary scoring shouldn't be a conversation anymore because you get deeper. Your offense gets deeper. Everyone kind of gets pushed down one, right?
I wouldn't mind seeing him with just matching him up with Taylor Hall, like.
Right. So any way you move it, right? So I don't care how you, within those top 6 guys, I don't care how you move it, you get better. Like that conversation of, oh, we don't have the secondary scoring out the window because you have the talent there that should have the secondary scoring. Because if you put him into the top 6, someone within that now existing top 6 is then going down to the bottom 6, which is then making that bottom 6 even better, right? The issue I have within the thing that I would probably say why I might not do it is what is bigger of an issue, our offense and scoring or our defense, right? I don't think you do both. I don't think you get Giroux in here and you get that difference maker Chychrun in here. Like, I don't think you have the collateral yet to do it. That's why I'm more of I think what a more understandable move to make and a better move that's seeable and not video game-esque is Chychrun, Kessel, Chara, right? So you're getting a third line guy that's solidifying that third line with 2 solid defensemen.
So besides and I'm pulling it up really quick. For some reason, I couldn't get the webpage to load.
So are you pulling up? What are you pulling up? Because I
Well, I wanted to look, for example, like besides Swayman and
Lysell.
yeah, like, is there anybody else who would be quote untouchable?
You have untouchable. Are you talking about like prospect wise or player wise?
Like prospect wise, you know what I mean?
No, honestly, like Lowry, you can move Lowry easily. I mean, they don't really have the prospect like
So
high
you
end
don't-
You
prospect.
don't have the collateral to do it. Like you
But
don't
I mean,
have
but
the
if you're looking to
collateral
trade
that
for a,
220 guys.
if you're looking to trade for a Claude Giroux kind of guy, you're not going to have to give up as much as you think because he is a rental player.
I think you would have to give up more than you think.
They're
I
giving up
think
first.
But that's where the first round
So-
picks come in. That's where Sweeney needs to dig
So
his
how do you
head
get
out of
Chitrin?
head
Right.
out of his ass.
So then how do you get Chitrin?
You have to choose. I mean, you're not going to be able to
that-
give
yes.
up Citron and
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Giroux. You're going to have
That's
to
what I'm
pick
saying.
and choose.
So you have to pick and choose. I choose our defense needs to be better.
But you could
need-
easily go for a Giroux and then get a Klingberg instead of a Chitrin. And Klingberg would be a cheaper version of Chitrin. It's just a more veteran presence, Escobar.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. No, I understand Chitrin would be a more priority because
Right.
that's the defense needs the most help at this point.
I
in
just
time.
don't see like I think our defense is so hurt right now, and remembering how exposed we got last year, 2 years ago, whenever it was, it's like, oh man, I have like I'm afraid once one guy goes down, if let's say, God forbid, knock on wood, McAvoy goes down, we don't stand a chance. Like you know what I mean, and that's different than Tampa. That's different than Vegas. That these top tier teams are so deep that okay, yeah, it hurts, but they're okay. We don't have that luxury of losing one of these top name guys, like McAvoy's going down. We are porked if that happens. So that's why I'm like, you got to fill this defense with something.
Chris, do you have anything to say before moving on, or?
No, it's been hard to navigate the last 10 minutes with all the baseball shit that's trickling out.
I know. I'm trying to read it too. Like I'm trying to read like the Evan Drellich tweets of what they're proposing. And I will say this: if the players don't accept that, they're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They don't want to play if they
Yeah.
don't accept that. That's all I'm going to say about this, because everything everything that's been released so far is compromised, and they need to accept it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. And we will talk more about it once we get off the air, because I gotta. There's just so much going on right now. Anyway, so no, fantastic talk on that trade deadline, and like I said, the last 3 times already, we will be having a trade deadline special Monday the 21st. Most likely we'll have our spaces as well. We'll get that all cranked out once we get closer to that. Once again, we are brought to you by Shocked Energy and Exogun. Shocked Energy is a drink made by gamers for gamers. Use the promo code CGSN today for 10% off your next order. So with that being said, there's still 2 weeks to go before less than 2 weeks ago before that happens. So we're going to there's 3 games between our next podcast. So we're going to break that down, not break it down, but the next 3 games, they are versus Chicago tomorrow. Chicago's currently beating Anaheim 7-1 right now. So they'll be on a back. They won't be on a back-to-back, but they'll be coming on Thursday. Saturday, they will host Arizona. And then on Tuesday, they will be at Chicago. So to close out the show, as always, we are going to go to the penalty shots in our hot takes. Chris, I will go to you. That way you can keep looking at your tweets once you're done. And we will then toss it over to Kevin. So what's your predictions for the upcoming 3 games?
Well, how was I last week? Did you write that down?
I actually did not.
No, son, the one time that so next 3 games, I think the Bruins need to continue to elevate their play, and if they can go and I think if you can go 3-0, I want them to go. I want them to carry massive momentum going into the trade deadline, because then if they don't, does plans change? You know what I mean? Are you now not looking to make anything of the moves that we just mentioned about 5 minutes ago? So I want to see them continue to make massive momentum going into the trade deadline. Ultimately, I want to continue to see Jeremy Swayman elevate his play. And and I would like to see Allmark play just a smidge better. I feel like when he's on the ice, it's just a different feel. It's a different attitude. It's not the same. And I want to see him to start to get some swagger too, because his team is just not the same with him in net. He had an awesome save against the Kings towards the end of that game. Like it was a great play. But so long-winded, narrowing it down, I want to see the Bruins go 3-0 in the next 3 games.
Okay. Kevin.
Yeah, I think you don't have a choice. You have to go 3-0. You got kind of three, well, it should be layups, Blackhawks, Coyotes, and Blackhawks again. You should definitely take care of business there. So, and I'll go even like a step further. You should take care of business and take care of business in regulation. None of these games should go to OT. Like you should be able to put these games in hand and take care of business, solidify it, close the game out. If Allmark is in there, I agree with Chris. He's got to play better. They were talking about it on Felger and Maz, I think, today. Actually, no, it was Zolak and Bertrand, because I only listened to Zolak and Bertrand. I don't think that save even hit his glove. I know it was reported, or like the announcers were saying it was a great save, but it was a great effort. Just the puck, whatever, didn't hit the glove or whatever it was. If we're thinking of the same save, but yeah, they got to go 3-0. I think even if they somehow go 0-3 here, and they got to keep the same mindset of add no matter what, right? I think that if you ever seen the movie Draft Day, he writes down like the guy's name, Khalil, like Khalil Mack or whatever it is, no matter what. And I think that's the approach.
I feel like someone should have tweeted that today. That was a missed opportunity with that Seahawks trade earlier with like
I don't know, man.
Like
whoever
players that were like, someone should have tweeted that.
Whoever the social media person is for the Seahawks, they deleted it, but that Wilson clip from Castaway, wondering where Wilson was
perfect.
Fucking fantastic. They deleted it, which made me upset, but whatever.
I caught that like quickly. I was at work and it was scrolling through and I was like, oh, that's a good one. And then when I went back to like really, because I just saw I saw the Seahawks tweeted it, didn't read the caption or anything, and then saw the picture and I was like, oh, that's great. And then when I went back later in the day because I had free time, I was like, oh, exactly. Those bastards deleted it. No way.
Yeah, I think
that was so great.
I think the fan base got a little upset about it.
Oh my God. Shut up.
Yeah.
Grow up. But yeah, I think it's got to be something like that. No matter what happens over the next 2 weeks, you got to add. I don't care if you go 0-6, 6-0, add, because you're still a good team, right? Like, just how I said, you don't want these next 6 games to be like, oh, we're fine. Like, we don't need to add anything. We don't need to change anything. Take the opposite approach. If you lose 0-6, you're still fine. Like, you're still a good team. You'll still bounce back. You still need to add here. No matter what you do, you got to get better. So 3-0. I think I said last podcast that Swayman's going to win his next 2 starts. Allmark will lose his next 2. I believe that fell. Allmark's first one since then was the Kings last night. I could be wrong. So, God, I hope he's not playing these next 3 games then.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, it looks like Swayman has really taken stranglehold on that number 1 goalie spot as of right now, which is why I don't think they are going to trade him. But like people say,
can't. They don't. Oh, Jesus Christ!
That's a story. That's a story for another day.
Finally, take them if they do that.
Yeah, exactly. But So, like I said, we were brought to you by Shocked Energy. Use promo code CGSN today for 10% off. We're also brought to you by Exo Gun, and that was episode 20 of Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast. We will be back next Tuesday for episode 21. And until then, I am Jeff Hoke. That is Chris Henrique, still looking at his phone. And that is Kevin Perdios, still upset at Don Sweeney. So, with that being
Always.
said, Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast brought to you by Couch Guys Sports and sponsored by Exogun and Shocked Energy. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.